Spider Ball. Art and Story by Jamie Gray. The prairie is full of life. And death, of course. These are not empty lands. They consist of massive communities laying low. Low where all the life is. To know and understand the prairies, one must take time to listen. To sit in the quiet spaces between the stones. To melt into the background. Shut off the human mind, and turn on the sweetgrass mind, the Chinook mind, the spider mind. I've not been spooked by the wild things we've been taught to fear in the borderlands. Coyotes yipping at each other in friendly communication. Owls hooting to hear themselves exist. Snakes whispering in delicate motion over small stones in the midday heat. And most innocent of all, the wind. Soughing through lonely coulees, or wafting through ancient webs that dance lazy gauze from the rafters of a long-abandoned barn. Meandering west to east, gently minding everyone's business. But I've now learned to fear what can sometimes be heard in the quiet places. Listen, and I'll tell you. The story is true. The prairie holds another type of life, the Jenny Loki, the spirits that inhabit a place. They can feel friendly and homey, or they can flip the coin, bringing a feeling of danger, of anxiety, of warning. It's possible to come upon a place and find quickly that it's not for us. Clearly out of place, we want to, are compelled to, leave. The spirits push and pull, taunt and woo. They demand notice, simpering, sometimes mocking, drawing fingers, almost imperceptibly, across the back of the neck like cold, damp cobwebs. They flutter past like bats, almost unheard. And now I ask you, have you ever experienced a place that contains both a spirit of gentleness and a spirit of terror? A spirit of meek placidity that lures you in, then changes its tune? I have. There are few places on earth I have loved more than cemeteries. They are calm, peaceful oases in a busy world. People run like rats through the maze as long as they live, and then, dead stop. I step out of the rat race once in a while to soak up the restful peace that cemeteries offer. Land's End Cemetery would have been a restful place for me, but now I have nightmares because of it. It wasn't an easy place to find. I came upon it by chance, late one afternoon, while meandering down a long, unused range road, the dead acre recognizable by a bordering guard of caragana bushes. Land's End's rusted gates were deeply buried in overgrown bushes, the name of the cemetery welded into the distorted steel. Inside, I saw few and far between gravestones peeking up out of tall prairie grass like gophers searching in the sky, shorter ones lurking under dead grasses, treasures hide in seeking. Clearly, Land's End had been sleeping many decades without human disturbance, until I broke the rust seal on the gate, entered, and began to wander amongst the stones. Where the grass was shorter, bare soil bordered concrete slabs covering old burials. Here, where the late-day sun touched the earth, tiny cacti, snake diggings, and spider tunnels surrounded the old stones. The tiny earthworks descended below the surface, where dusty bones reclined. Bushes blocked much of the slight breeze, allowing for a silence in which the buzzing of each tiny insect could be heard. The grasses and leaves were falling asleep for the winter, the scent of wilting vegetation oddly comforting like the yeasty smell of baking bread. It all felt right as I settled onto the ground beside the Love family plot, contemplating life as I sat with death. On top of forever 22 years old Geraldine Love's grave sat an old glass dome, disintegrating plastic flowers within. Beside her grave was the tiny gravestone of the unnamed Love baby, 1 day old. Geraldine's, I assumed. Baby Love had been crudely stamped into the concrete before it had hardened. The glass dome was large and weathered. When new, it had been filled with plastic flowers and greenery, a loving tribute. But all the weathers had baked and frozen the bouquet to a faded fragility, just visible, crumbled to the concrete covering the grave. The protective branches of a lilac bush, entwined with wild grapevine, had saved the dome from destructive hailstorms and deer hooves in the dark. I admired it, Still whole, it housed secrets and Jenny Loki of its own. I was enjoying this peaceful moment when I heard a sound. More than that, I felt a sensation. I don't know how else to say this, because, through its inexplicableness, it put me on my guard. I instantly tensed, coming to almost complete immobility and holding my breath, the only moment goosebumps Jenny Loki sent to prickle my skin. The sounds of airborne insects faded into silence, as it will when they are hiding from danger, allowing me to better hear, feel, almost below me, a persistent scritch, scritch. I dropped lower to the ground to get closer to the sound. Was it a badger? A mole? A snake? No, this was like sharp sticks being scraped across metal, jabbed and drawn, and it was coming from below the concrete slabs. Of this, I was certain. My senses became laser-focused. I noticed there were funnel webs in the ground, tunneled spiderweb torture chambers for insects to fall in and be eaten. Normally, they are architectural beauties to see, but with my face so close to the ground, I saw, at the bottom of the web funnel closest to me, a spider whose 8 eyes were reflecting light as a cat's eyes do. I was astonished to see them blinking, not all at once, but sequentially. Now, things happened both quickly and in slow motion. I detected a movement from the corner of my eye and twisted my head toward it. In the glass dome on Geraldine Love's grave, a large spider was climbing up the inside. Was it an optical illusion caused by the dappled sunlight through the overhanging branches? I rubbed my eyes to clear the vision, but frantically removed my hands when I heard a terrible sound come from the direction of the dome. Though its motions were almost too small to see, I saw I was hearing the sounds of glass moving against concrete. A low, hollow booming, and the whining of glass edge as it was pushed across the surface. Repulsed, I saw that the dome was now full of spiders, large and black, loathsome, swarming, moving the glass dome in their frantic power little by little across the concrete. I didn't realize I'd risen, but I was now on my feet and saw climbing up the outside of the dome, oh horror, a single bloated spider, the stench of death steaming off of it in palpable waves. In a heart-stopping moment, a silken strand of web fell across the back of my neck, and I felt the weight of something climbing up my shoe. I ran. The pit-pat of objects hitting the ground was all around me, a sound like ripe fruit dropping from branches. I slammed the grating cemetery gates shut, as though that could help me. In the last of the afternoon rays, I could see numerous strands of iridescent web glinting on the windshield of my car. It took what remained of my courage to approach it. As I fumbled with the door handle, my eyes caught movement inside the cemetery. In the tall grasses, a small child stood by the graves from which I had fled. She was looking directly at me, through me even, dispassionately, holding Jenny Loki of her own. She raised a tiny hand as if to wave goodbye. A spider dangled from it on a silken strand, like a gruesome toy, a horrible pet. Her translucent webby form flickered in the mists gathering ahead of the night's dew. I watched with disbelieving eyes as spiders crawled up her little body. She disappeared, bit by bit from the bottom up, as the spiders climbed to the top of her head. Then, everything was gone. No child, no spiders, no more peaceful, dream-free nights. I don't remember how I got home. I have no memory of that. I've never visited Land's End Cemetery since, but I have walked in many others. Only in the strongest light of day, always in motion, and with a good exit plan. I take a wide berth around the funnel spider webs in the ground, and I often wonder about the little love baby. I imagine her sitting beside the glass dome of her mother's grave as the last plastic petal falls within. She, the spirit of her place, gently twirling strands of web in her fingers, as the wind whispers through the lilac bush.